to others. I mean, like one thing we have decided to focus here is this is Islam. That the way Islam and the 1 billion Muslim population is being demonized in this war on terror, and so to have some kind of counter discourse. And I'm a very practical man, so now we have this Ubuntu, Swaraj, this Somak Kausa, a lot of exotic words floating around, but nothing in Arabic. So I wonder if our people who are knowledgeable in Arabic and in of the Islam, please tell us. So we should insert this concept of
the Arabic speaking Muslims are a small minority.
Somebody said Tayush.
No, Tayush, I said.
Yeah,
we can
living
use
together.
the word salama, the salama, and also
This is my place for the secret meeting which comes up. But of the events that we mentioned, this which I don't know much. Maybe somebody knows more, but it's on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, the afternoon slot, the global meeting of on the new strategies of social movements facing the growing power of the globalized capitalist system. So I think here is what Chico Whittaker referred to us, that there's this plan for thematic social forum on alternatives. So this is like one place that we probably should be some numbers around. But yes, it seems there are many convergences on alternatives. So maybe there's more interest in that this time, and it may yield some interesting outcomes. But would you like to mention a bit more about the convergence process that you are part of, and in relation to Samir Amin's thing or this thing or that thing? Or Ruby has some idea.
No, I just wanted to comment about at least one process of alternative or putting forward alternative discourse, countering dominant discourse, which has been a lot developed through the forum process, which is that of other economies, of solidarity economy, basically putting to the forefront that this is a very plural and diverse discussion. And it's also very much a methodology pointing to things that were said here, that these are processes of ethically deliberating about how are we constructing relations and how can we then look from that at economy. So in the program, for instance, there are at least different instances. I mean, again, it's a conversation that's easily to be co-opted as well. So I cannot vouch for every solidarity economy, the discussion that you will find in the program as with in how far is it progressive or not. But there are different program discussions in which there are also local experiences being raised. The issue of finance, Tord, you were talking about the importance of addressing also the issue of funding and finance and money as we know it, and what could alternatives be. I mean, they are also present there, and they are very importantly part of our alternative. This evening, meeting with a few people who are part of the Solidarity Economy and Commons movement, and they are discussing in particular, they've been developing a new mapping tool. Marko was telling about how the frustration with things like Google and so they've been building up a different mapping tool based on OpenStreetMap, where indeed the mapping of alternatives, the very concrete practices, is something that is wanted to be taken forth. Vijay, you were earlier pointing out to the mapping of different, I think the mapping of also our calendars of the different processes that are happening. It would be so important to at last together map calendars, map initiatives. I think there's a lot of strength in that, and pointing to see that where is it that people are moving, what is happening, what kind of, and make visible the different the different discussions or different voices that we want to make. So that just as a comment.
This is the transfer hub.
Yeah.
Maya, I wanted to just ask in connection with what you've been saying, is Ashish, if I may, which is that could there be some way of information sharing? I mean, we get an email saying that this is the place where this is happening, and if you want to, something like this, or the discussions on Tunisian democracy, I would be interested in, because there are lots of discussions happening, as this kind of, sort of in this parallel to the World Social Forum events. So there could be some way of communication.
Actually, we could be,
if we could meet in the evening time, after the World Social Forum, and each one can present what they heard, and so we get benefit of the sessions that we have not attended.
This is a good idea.
Daily will be difficult, but maybe we can fix 1 day or 2 days, every day.
Everybody, it's not mandatory
Whoever
that
can
everybody, whoever can come. Build it very long, if we are not many more than what we are present now, then it's possible even in that hotel.
Okay, so maybe we'll
In
just
the lobby.
we can circulate the information about it, and we want to fix the time. And then
Yeah, those who can. Yeah.
Let us fix the time right now.
It will be good to get a flavor of what others attended.
Or why don't you discuss every time breakfast, previous days experience?
I think
everybody is not in the same place.
No.
Breakfast and then the
Yeah,
table
so
is
this-
long, so it's
We are
difficult.
so dispersed.
And one another thing is that the events, the morning events is starting at 8:45.
8:30.
Yeah.
8:30. Program says 8:30.
8:30. So it is
Difficult to have a discussion.
I think the evening thing is good. Maybe you just fix a time and just send out the information about where. Then
No,
whoever can
time,
come.
let's fix now, really.
It's after 5:30, I mean, the panel seemed to end at 5:30.
7?
So 7 o'clock, so you'll send the information out, and you're giving everybody dinner.
I think
No,
dinner,
let
right?
others say. 7 is
Okay,
okay.
Sunday is giving dinner to
Yeah,
everybody
7
who
is
comes.
okay, I think. 7 to 8.
No chance. Everybody is on.
No, but after that we could go to some place which you might,
Yeah, yeah.
people might suggest.
But that's not part of the collective.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'll all pay.
Okay, 7 o'clock at this place. So you'll send out the information. Great.
Yeah, there's a lot of course, absent friends that should have been here from Sweden, so I get too much to inform about. But in relation to what we discussed right now, first this question of I am representing, I'm appointed by Friends of the Earth Sweden. And it's good that this notion is brought up, because I sense that when we talk English, it's not possible in Swedish to use the concept of CBO, community-based organizations. That doesn't exist, because the local group is already integrated in the national group, and the local group and the local members are deciding on the national level. There is no such thing that there is some professional thing. Now they try to establish this kind of political pattern. So that means that we also have completely different way of addressing this. What we have is that the local community make a think tank. It's called Meet Academy. The local community have the capacity to struggle at the national level. It's the local community that have the intellectual capacity and are the actual ones who intervene and forces the movement to cooperate. So it's completely turned the other way around. And what happened in that community is that some weeks ago there was a big demonstration, huge demonstration, 600 inhabitants out of 2,000 inhabitants. That would be in Stockholm 3,000 demonstrators. That is twice as much as any demonstrations ever took place in Stockholm. So 600 people were demonstrating against the wind power. Now one can ask, how does an organization like Friends of the Earth, who wants wind power, reacts to this? We say, oh, lovely, because this wind power is introduced by the corporate power who imposed this on the local community. So this whole technology, now we have to have is wrong. And we understand it at the national level, they understand it at the local level. And why was it interesting? Because it was not only against wind power, it was against the colonialism of the Swedish center against the periphery, because they expressed it in a political way. So with other words, of course there are a lot of Swedish words here, but anyway, there is possibilities. But not if we start to talk about the local, and then we start to bring that local community, because that local community and their way of doing it is then conflict with Via Campesina in Sweden, who's only 100 members, because Via Campesina, because they are active, they are invited to the nice, cute national meetings. As examples, here comes the radicals, why they still exclude Via Campesina. So there's a sort of lot of processes where we only talk about local things. We might sort of cherry pick the nice examples, and then bring in to us nice NGO meetings, where there may be state funding, etc. So I mean, I'm just showing a little bit of the problems we have. But you have to look on that the European crisis is extreme right now, which means that in Greece, etc., this social solidarity economy is developing because they are totally, I mean, it's going like that. So there are processes, and I think that linkage between sort of inner colonialism and the other kind of could be useful. So we cannot go into detail there, but what I do think is that we cannot focus on the local level alone. This is exactly the climate justice movement mistake after Copenhagen. Now we have to go to low investment. The local community should be in power of lower energy. This is to avoid the global struggle. So that's why I think we need something like a Padyatra from Chiapas across Europe, Ukraine, Russia, Central Asia, Afghanistan, to the Adivasi areas in India. Because then we put the global context where it should be, among the indigenous people and about that kind of, that would be completely different from People's Summit or World Social Forum and these kind of things where you never meet the people face by face. It's never the local community, you just cherry pick some local nice examples. Because we have to address the peace issue.
Yeah. Can you formally...
Yeah, I was just going to do that. So I think unless there's any burning final comments from anybody...
Those working on Islam are familiar, if they could stop for Marko's request to suggest a word. Suggest a word for Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam.
For Vasudev Kutumbakam? For Vasudev Kutumbakam?
Sorry. Can I just, I think so if there's any, so people can stay back for that. But is there anything else on the forum in particular anybody wants to point out? Or anything in terms of follow-up? Okay, so we have now there's going to be a mailing list.
The Arabic term can be a sulho khairo.
So any information relating to that will be sent. Take minutes, we'll come back. Will be circulated on this mailing list. If anybody is not on the list, please give it to Oves, emails. And there will be the daily 7 o'clock meeting at the place that we'll send out exact directions.
And friends can forward it to other networks.
Yeah.
Say open meeting.
Yeah. And I think this table of events that's been put together is really useful, so that can also be circulated to all other networks that you're part of. With that, if there's nothing else, then thank you a lot, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
see you again.